They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
A fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or
from bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3? Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, double a 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above you do, doesn't it? Welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. Today we're going to talk to bowls legend Ann Muir. Looking forward to that. Club president Gary Vogel and squash player turned bowls champion Tony Fabling. But first, we've got some interesting sort of, admin, housekeeping affairs to deal with for the Matters Bowls. Firstly, the interclub sevens.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I've got to introduce you as well. What's your name again? Alex Reid.
Alex,
that's
yeah.
one, yes.
Last time I checked it was Alex anyway, so I don't think it's changed.
Now, you know a lot about this. I'm a greenhorn, so you've got to tell me about this Interclub Sevens.
Okay, I'll give it a go. So you might remember that we played the Inter-Centre regionals a couple of weeks ago, Miles. The Interclub Sevens sort of runs along the same lines. We've always had a national interclub, and we used to do it so that the 26 centre winners for the men and the women congregate in one place and play off in a national final. But obviously, you know, we're not in a great space with the COVID situation, so it's been adjusted to a regionalised interclub. There will be 6 regions, which is exciting. Played the week after next, I think, and it's all the centre winners go through. So you win your centre interclub sevens, you go through to this regional final. If you win that, the 6 winners will go through to a national final, which is all pretty exciting stuff.
And where's the national final going to be held?
That's a great question. It's a really good question. I should know the answer to that.
You should
Miles.
do, don't it? But no, we can find that out.
They can
and
find
get
it
back
out.
to people.
Yeah.
You know, we can do it later on in the show. You can do that googly thing, or is there someone that you can phone a friend?
I've definitely put it on the website because I remember typing it in, so that you could find it on the
Wellington.
website.
I'll go for Wellington.
It's either Wellington or it could be up here somewhere. It could be in the Auckland region.
I'll go for Wellington because it's the capital and it's my spiritual New Zealand home. So I'm going to go for that one. But 7, you know, the sevens. Okay, so I'm assuming. You know, sevens, it must be 7 players in each team. How is it broken down?
Yep. So there's a fours team, a pairs team, and a singles team.
Or singles
If it's schizophrenic, it's a team, isn't it? So to make up the side of 7, and usually in section play, it's like a round robin format. So it's just the most wins, and then in post section, it goes team versus team. So you win 2 out of your 3 games, you go through. Which is
like
really exciting.
Davis Cup type thing.
Yeah.
Except I think Davis Cup is 5, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a similar sort of idea.
Yeah, and the clubs, I find, it's sort of the one that connects with the grassroots bowler the most because they are club teams that get through. You know, you'll have your 2 or 3 star players, but to make 7, you include your club. There's not that.
Unless you're a club like Elmwood Park who've got 7 internationals. Playing around the place.
Yeah.
Just interesting there. I've just thought of a question for you. You may not know the answer to this. You could be doing a lot of Googling in there.
I'll give it a go.
Do the 7 that qualify have to be the same 7 that go to the final?
No.
Or is it just you're representing your club, you've got them through? Because, I mean, obviously, people have got busy lives. They take a lot of time out of their lives to play these tournaments, and sometimes they might not be available.
Yeah, so your club wins the right to have an entry into the event. So the 7 doesn't have to. You could pick an entirely new 7, although how well down that would go, I don't know. But you could pick a new 7. For example, last year I was unavailable to play the national final, but I was in the 7 team that won the Auckland title.
How come every week we come back to you? I was, and I
just
won
reselected
that.
the team.
Do you gear these questions in here and these topics just so we can back to you?
They let me write the scripts, Miles.
No, hey, fair enough, mate. And I tell you what, you're bound to be coming up a lot because you're a very good player and you've got some very good players that you play with as well. So that's to be expected. Now, something that's dear to my heart because it gave me the introduction to this magnificent sport and the opportunity to join in these sort of things. Bowls 3-5. Now, I cried when first COVID canned what was going to be our last finals of the televised league. That's gone now. What's replaced it?
Yeah, we were gutted. It was, what can you do? So what happened is we've replaced it now and there will be no more Bowls 3-5 on Sky Sport either, so the televised league is go on to be replaced by something different and amazing, but not Bowls 3-5. So Bowls 3-5 is a very good, we like the format, and I think it's been a pretty successful format around the country. You've seen it in Bowls 3-5 Twilight and Centre competitions. So we run Bowls 3-5 Interclub, and in the past, the winner of the National Interclub got promoted into the televised league. Whereas now it's just going to be the 26 centre winners get a free trip to Wellington in this case to play off in the national final, plus the 8 teams that were supposed to be participating in the TV league that was cancelled.
So you're going to have 34 teams?
Yes. Yeah, in
That's
Wellington.
a lot of teams.
For a weekend. I think it might even go 3 days. And it'll be Erin Nurka, who's our commercial manager and was in charge of the look and feel of the Bowls 3-5 televised league.
She works so hard, that girl.
She's been given free reign for the Bowls 3-5 National Interclub final.
I look forward to watching that then. That should be exciting.
You can expect some good stuff there.
Yeah, so you're going to stream it though, aren't you? So that people will still be able to watch it. Is it going to be streamed live or is it delayed streaming?
Yeah, it'll be streamed live. I believe we're going to try have it all 3 days or all 2 days or however long it goes for from the Nine Eye Bowling Club. It'll be streamed, and we're going to have a go at giving every team an opportunity, or as many teams as possible, an opportunity to play on the televised rink, which will be dressed up a little bit. There'll be Toblerones, not the chocolate ones, but the ones with our logos on them, running down the rink side, and some other sort of cool stuff. I think there was talk about providing black and white bowls, for example, or if that fails, we now have stickers. I acquired some stickers from Benefits, they're called.
Does that impact on the bowl?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I suppose
what about psychologically?
If you put enough stickers on the bowl, maybe you'd win a measure or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect the run of the bowl. So we've got some big blue and some big red stickers.
You say that, but has there been scientific studies done on it?
We haven't put one in yet. But, you know, if there's someone out there who's interested, it's...
if I was there and my team lost, I'd be putting an objection in saying the stickers were the thing that put me off. Anyway.
You wouldn't be the first one either, Miles.
Are we going to have Monster Vision? Because Erin loves the old Monster Vision, those big screens.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's going to sneak a few of those in?
Who knows what Erin will do, but whatever she does, it's going to be pretty cool. She's just been working at the
Cricket World Cup. She has,
And we have discussed the possibility of having fire. You know, those fiery sort of things.
Have you noticed that? I mean, I've been at Eden Park and even at the Cape Town when it's so hot. You can be miles up in the stand, and when they fire off, you can actually feel the heat.
It'll be brilliant because Nine Eye's not known for its warmth, so perhaps there we have a solution.
That might be the way to keep it warm.
Yeah, if they're listening, maybe just get to celebrate a good end. You can just have some fire.
I look forward to that. Yeah, Erin's innovative and a really hard worker, so I'm looking forward to that. And what weekend is that?
Again, look on the website. I think it's in November.
7th and 8th of May is the qualifying one, and then it goes through to that big one.
That's right. Yeah. So So it's the big one is 7th, 8th of May, and November's the Interclub one.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why I wrote it down here.
You got it wrong, but I just thought I'd let you come to that conclusion.
So, the 7th and 8th of May. Yeah.
On the notes here, you've got the 7th and 8th of Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I got no excuses, to be honest.
No.
Maybe I hadn't had coffee when I'd written that, that bit of the script.
You're not here for your typing skills.
No, and the other quick thing I'll mention about the Bowls 3-5 National Interclub is it is a Silver Star title. So we have Gold Stars and Silver Stars as Bowls New Zealand that we award to people who've won 5 national titles, depending on what sort of national title they are.
Yeah.
And the Bowls 3-5 Interclub counts as a Silver Star national title, which means that it's ranked exactly the same as your National Intercentre titles and your National Interclub titles and the 4 National Champion of Champion events, to give you an idea of where that sort of sits and how much it is valued as a title to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still a few years to go, I'd imagine, until you win 5, because it's only just...
Yeah, there's a few.
It's a fledgling thing. Right, if anyone wants to send any feedback, suggestions for guests, info@bowlsnewzealand.co.nz. And last week, we discussed, you had a little bee in your bonnet about why do they have 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw? Where does the other point go? The good old days when I first heard it was 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw. That makes sense. You know, you split the win into half for the 2 people. You thought you were Solomon or something for a minute. And you got some feedback.
I did.
Because I was on the 3-point side. I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
You were a definite proponent for the 2 points.
Yeah, you were thought 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, none for a loss.
Incentivise people to try and win instead of lag
just sort
for a
of
draw like you do.
That third point just disappears into the umpire's pocket, perhaps. But I got some feedback, and the only feedback I got, and you can believe me or not, Miles, but the only feedback I got was in support of my statement, which is that a draw should be worth half of a win, which was really gratifying to receive. I was quite pleased to get that bit of feedback from our bowling community.
Hey, that's the great thing about having a mum that supports you in everything that you do.
She'd probably disagree with me, to be honest, but that's...
I better ring her.
We won't go there.
Get her back.
No, it was cool. It was good to get that feedback.
Yeah, and any feedback at all, welcome. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever you want. info@bowlsnewzealand.co.nz. We're going to try and dig up and find out where the finals of the Interclub Sevens
we'll let you know,
is going to be. We'll let you know on that one. But coming up next, an absolute legend of the game, Ann Muir on the Bowls Hour.
Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And on the line now, Miles, I've got Ann Muir from Northland. So, Ann, just for Joe Blogg's bowler, and I'd be surprised if no one did know you, but just pretend someone doesn't, could you just sort of give us a little bit of a background on who you are to bowls, please?
Who am I to bowls? Well, some people say that I'm the guru, but I don't believe that. Been playing bowls for a long time, started in Auckland. Then because I'm a teacher, I applied for a job up here, and I've come up here, joined the Whangarei Women's Bowling Club, and now I'm at the Kensington Club. So that's about it.
I think there's a little bit more to it than Ann, which we're going to find out over the next few minutes or so. How did you first get into bowls? What drew you to it, and how did you get into it?
Oh, funny. I had a father who was a very good bowler. My mother played bowls. I've played indoor bowls since I could walk. And then I played cricket and hockey. And then I had an injury and took up bowls in 68, 69. And from there on, it's been all go. My father set up a bowling rink in the backyard at home. It went uphill, so you could only play uphill. And of course, my sister and I used to be kept entertained by him trying to play bowls to get to the jack on top of the hill.
That sounds amazing.
It is fun.
That sounds like a good solution for our athletes going up to the Commonwealth Games as well, Anne, if you have an uphill rink.
Yeah, but it was pretty quick once you got up onto the hill, but to get there was hard.
And when did you first start playing, really competitively? What was your sort of first sort of successes?
Oh, well, in my very first year, I got to the last 32 in the National Women's Singles, which I thought was quite a feat, and I knew the woman that I had to play to get further on, and she was a very good bowler, Nora Kempe, up here. So that, started right off at the beginning.
That sounds like a good start. So, I mean, we don't have long enough to go through the successes you've had in your career because there's been many, but if you were to pick a highlight on your representative side, what would that be? When did what's the favourite part of your career?
Well, probably in 1990, when I got selected as an emerging player for New Zealand. That was probably the beginning of whatever was going to happen.
Next step.
That was a highlight for me. Probably winning 3 national titles, especially with Carolyn Crawford, who is a person with a disability. That was a highlight for me.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that, Anne, because I was doing a little bit of research before we got started, and I'm pretty sure that because you were the Bowls New Zealand president at the time, and you got dispensation, I believe, to play at this national event, and then you won the Peers. So, how did that feel?
That was very special. Probably I shouldn't have been doing it. I was meant to be shaking hands and going around the crowd and talking to them, but I'm not a very good watcher of bowls, so I had to be playing.
Fair enough. And
And you beat a couple of rank amateurs in the final, I believe.
Oh, yeah, Joe and Bill. Yep. I've got a pretty good record playing against them. Yes. That's enough of that one.
There wasn't any throwing of the game, was there? Thinking, oh, we're playing against the president, we better behave ourselves?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Carolyn played very well, and I had some very good drives, which got us out quite a bit.
I'm wondering, Anne. You became president, but how did you get into administration, and how much did that impact on your playing of bowls or your ability to get out there and play as much as you'd want to?
It didn't stop me one little bit. I've got to be playing bowls. I'm sorry, and I think getting into the administration side. I am a teacher, and once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher, so you put your hand there. Somebody says, can you do it? You'll do it.
Excellent. Obviously you were the Bowls New Zealand president maybe 2 or 3 terms ago. I think we've had a couple of 3 since you, so pretty reasonably recent. And that's a great highlight of an administration career, but not only have you done that, and you've been to Commonwealth Games, as a cited, what did Sue tell us to call? They're not guides.
Directors.
Because we spoke to Sue Curran last week, directors, eh? You were the director for Sue Curran. How was that, and how did you get into that sort of bowling space?
Well, I got asked by Kevin Smith if I would be a director, and I thought, well, there's something different. Sue and I live in different cities. It was a bit hard to work together, but she trusted me. And that's the main thing. You've just got to have trust in your director, the blind people. But it was an amazing experience.
So how did you find, were there any, how do you say it? Did you get, you talk about the trust, was there frustration there at any point, between you and your player when you're like, I think you should be playing a forehand shot here? Was there any arguments?
No, never any arguments. Sue trusted me. If I said play a shot, she would try to play the shot. Probably the frustration was myself expecting Sue to be a top bowler at the same time as, like I am. That was probably it was me being frustrated more than she.
Well, you've played, you administrated, you've been a director, and you're a teacher. I've no doubt you've done some coaching as well. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, yeah. Jean Ryan was the one that steered me on to get into coaching. The Jean Ryan from Auckland. I got her up here to set up our coaching association here, and it's gone from there. I enjoy working with the players. I'm probably more a mentor now than I am a coach, but I still do coaching at a high level in our area. I just love imparting knowledge to people and seeing their success.
Are there any in particular people or teams that you've coached where you felt like, I've definitely made a difference here and we've succeeded, we've ticked off the goals that we wanted to tick off, Anne?
Oh, yeah, Northland, we've won the Inter-Centre twice. So, yes, they're the big ticks for me. And probably with the blind in South Africa, when we took out silver at the visually impaired World Bowls tournament. That was a highlight for me. The team over there was brilliant.
You mentioned before you moved up. You're in Northland now. You're well established in Northland, and I understand that they've acknowledged your sort of status by inducting you into something.
Into the Hall of Legends, they call it. I'm a legend now, legend number 31.
Yeah,
I'm just so proud.
Do you get a T-shirt wandering around, Legend 31 or something, or do you get a medal to wear around your neck?
I wouldn't have a clue. Nothing's been done yet because it was all done on that virtual system that's going around now. So I'd just wait and see.
It was amazing, and it's rightly so. You had a lot of recognition. You're a Bowls New Zealand Life member as well, Anne, and I think you've won just a host of different things. I think it probably speaks to how much respect people in the bowling community have for you, really. Is there anything that you rate, or what's left to do? What do you want to do next?
Just keep playing bowls like I did at the weekend, bridesmaid again, and the champ peers. But, I just want to play the game. I love it so much. I've dedicated my life to teaching and bowls, so
yeah, that's
I
admirable.
just want to play.
That's admirable. That's great. Okay, I've got a question now, Anne, and we flicked these through, and I had there's one that requires a bit more thought than normal, because usually, like last week, we asked what people thought a mousetrap was, but this week I've gone for a slightly more serious question. So, and you've had a long career, so you've got a lot of people to pick from. But if you could pick a fours team, like a dream fours team from people you've played with and against during your career, do you have one you would pick?
I've got two, because I would have to have one when bowls was women only.
Yeah.
And in that team, I would have had Elsie Wilkie, Fitzwin Stanley, Vera Devlin, and Joyce Osborne. And on the other side, come to the other side of the 80s, Joe Edwards, Millie Kahn, Judy Howard, and either Marlene Castle or Murray Watson.
They sound like two pretty good teams.
Yeah. That'd be my dream team.
I was hoping you were going to be in the side. Like, do you reckon you could get into any of those sides?
Well, I would be trying. Don't worry about that.
Well, Ann Muir, Northland sporting legend and bowls legend in New Zealand. You've done everything in the game, and I'm sure you've still got more to achieve. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you.
That's great talking to Ann Muir there, the sporting legend of Northland. I mean, that's fantastic. What I want to do, and I'm going to see if I can find out who the other 30 are.
Yes.
Because you'd imagine if they're sporting legends, there'd be likes of Sid Going and those type of people as well. And to be into that same
it's incredible.
category of sporting superstars, it's great. And it's great, for women to have that acknowledgement, but for bowls to get that acknowledgement.
Well deserved as well, for sure.
Yeah, very much so. And there's a lot. I love the fact that the teachers, and we've spoken to a couple of them on this series of podcasts. Teachers really commit themselves to coaching, playing, helping other people out as well in the sporting arena as well as in the academic one.
Absolutely.
And without it, I just dread to think, how many kids would be missing out if teachers didn't put the effort in.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's despite the fact that they used to cane me all the time and put me in detention. So
don't hold that against them.
I've forgiven. I've forgiven them. I've forgiven them for that. Right. Next up, we are going to have a chat to Gary Vogel. He's a president.
Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And this time, Miles, we just spoke to Ann Muir. Now we've got a guy called Gary Vogel from Hawea. Gary, can you just give us a quick overview of your background and who you are to bowls, please?
Okay, overview of background. I've been in transport and distribution most of my life. New to bowls, only been in bowls for 3 years. Played golf and squash all my life, but ended up with cancer in my legs, so couldn't continue. Never thought I'd end up playing bowls, but I'm now keen bowler and also president of the Hawea Bowling Club.
Now, a couple of things. Firstly, let the peasants in the country know where Hawea is, Gary, and then tell us how you became from a non-bowler to El Presidente in 3 years.
Okay, for those of you who don't know, everyone will know where Wanaka is. So there's two lakes down here. You've got Wanaka and Hawea, approximately 15 kilometres out of from Wanaka is Hawea. It's the little brother. So if you can't afford the $1 million properties, you build out at Hawea and you've got the $600,000 and $700,000 properties. So it's basically, it will be a suburb of Wanaka shortly, but it is 15 minutes from the centre of Wanaka.
How did you become president in 3 years? That's a rise. That's a rapid rise.
It's pretty simple, Miles. Most bowling clubs are age-driven, and they're getting older and older and older, and getting younger members is pretty hard. So I was made president because I was the youngest. It's basically as simple as that.
That seems like a reasonable. That works.
They thought I'd be around a bit longer.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, so Hawea Bowling Club, and just for the listeners' benefit, Bowls New Zealand has something called Twilight Bowls 3-5 now, Miles, which is a little bit, you might remember there was something called Mates and Bowls. It's a way of doing a business house social twilighty league, and Hawea Bowling Club have done an absolutely magnificent job of picking up that initiative and running with it. Could you just talk us through a bit about what Twilight Bowls 3-5 is at Hawea and some of the stuff you did around that, please, Gary?
Okay, so we were very lucky. Obviously, New Zealand Bowls have sent out a letter through Sally McKenzie to all the clubs, and when anyone offers us money for sponsorship, we jump at it. As most bowling clubs around New Zealand know, sponsorship's the hardest thing to get. So we decided that we would run with it, and we designed a flyer and put it in every letterbox in Hawea Township. Now, Hawea has a population of probably around about 1,500, 2,000 people. And we thought we might get maybe 6 or 7 or maybe 10 teams that we could introduce to lawn bowls. And we were just blown out of the water. We ended up with 31 teams, as most people that bowl know. You can only get 16 teams on the rink because you can only have eight rinks on the green, and so it blew us out of the water. So we then had to obviously run 2 of them. So we ran one before Christmas, and then obviously ran another one 6 weeks after Christmas. 2 6-week competitions, and over those we probably introduced 140, 150 people to the lawn bowls from our community.
What sort of reaction did you get to that, Gary? These people who've never sort of come to a bowls club or played lawn bowls before, turning up to this Twilight Bowls 5 because someone's put a letter in their mailbox. What was the reaction you had from the people?
Well, it was just incredible. I mean, they're young people, so if you can imagine, most of them would be under 35s. They bring their kids along, so we've got babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds running around. It's obviously chaos because you try and get, they're playing triple, so you've got 6 people on each rink. That's 48 bowlers, and trying to get 48 new bowlers to do things. You can well imagine where the bowls are going. But first of all, you've got to get your buy-in of your club, because you need one club member on each of the rinks, so that they can guide the 6 bowlers that are new to the club. You've then we put on a barbecue, so we had 3 guys doing barbecue and the woman in the kitchen doing bread and sauce and all those sorts of things. And we've obviously got the bar running. So if you can, and it wasn't only the bowlers, so each team had a team name, and each team probably had 4 or 5 people in it, and they would just rotate. So I think the first night we had 92 people on the green. So you can imagine it was just chaos. There's music blaring. We turned the speaker on, put the music on. Each team each week got the nominated playlist, and they put the playlist on.
I love that.
So you can imagine what it was. The first night it was 60s and 70s, because that's all all us oldies had, and from then on it could be anything. We ran a dress-up competition, and Alex, you've seen the photos. I think some of them are well circulated. So they had to dress up as their team. We had prizes for that. And then overall, we had we gave the sponsorship money that New Zealand Bowls gave us. We had 200, 150, 150 for the $500 that New Zealand Bowls gave us. the 4 top teams. And also New Zealand Bowls supplied us with merchandise, so every team got a prize. And my wife and I donated a trophy that they played for. And it was just a huge success, absolute huge success. Takings were fantastic. It's just blew everyone out of the water.
I've got to say, Gary, just by the sound of it, I want to come down there now and play in it now. You've gone to all those extra, and I think this could be not a lesson, but maybe an inspiration or a guide to other clubs to enhance it. Don't just say, we're going up here, here's a competition, you're playing bowls. All those little bit of extras that you've put around it just lifts it into a big social experience that is going to make people want to come back. And one thing as well, you mentioned all the kids running around. Do you believe that there's a potential for some of those kids to get into the game as they grow up? Because I've heard so many people, how did you start bowls? Oh, Dad used to take me when I was little.
Yeah, well, the kids I'm talking about are babies and up to 2 or 3 year old, 5-year-olds, because the age group that were playing were probably 25 to 35 miles. But these are what we call kids. I mean, the average age of our bowling club is 73, and I would say probably around New Zealand it's probably in its late 60s, early 70s. So we need to introduce younger people to bowls, and the only way you can do it is to get buy-in. We're lucky. We've got a small town. We've got a small community. The bowling club's at the community centre, so it was how we were inspired. But we were just blown out of the water, Miles, about the number of people that wanted to bowl. We've now got a lot of them are social members. We've probably got 4, maybe 5 that have joined the club. A couple of them are now bowling on Saturday in our pennants team. So next year we would increase our membership, I would hope, by probably 20% through this, because they all want to come back.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they all wanted to say, we want to play in the one before Christmas. Well, you can't have 32 teams on our green, I'm sorry. So once again, we've just sent out an email to all these teams. First 16 in will play in the first one, and the second 16 will play in the other one. Because the hardware community is growing. There's a huge development going, and there's another 400 sections opening up. And I would see in 5 years' time that we will need to be probably running competitions on Wednesday and a Friday just to keep the people who are interested doing what we want them to do, and that's playing bowls.
I've got one more question for you, and you might have slightly less experience than the previous person. We spoke to Ann Muir before. She started bowling in 1966, so she had a few years to choose from. But my question is, if you could pick like a dream fours team from bowls players you've played with or against during your career, who would it be?
Well, the first person that I'd pick would be Ali Forsyth. We've had Shannon McElroy down on our green. And he is probably the best bowler that New Zealand have produced.
You're building an okay team.
Yeah. We've got a guy down here called Richie Muir, who bowls at Wanaka, and he continually wins the singles, pairs, triples and fours in his club. I don't know how many times he's done it, but he's done it a hell of a lot of times. I've been in 2 finals and he's beaten us in both times. So he'd be in it. But the problem you have is you need a lead. And all these guys are skips. So have had a lot of dealings with Selena Goddard, so maybe a mixed 4 with her as lead, and then the other 3 can just feather their egos and play second, third and fourth.
That is,
Good
I've
team.
got to say, that team could win a world championship there. So well done, Gary Vogel. Thank you so much for your time and for what you've done. I think it's an amazing success and an inspiration to other clubs, and I hope they take up some of your ideas. All the best for next season, and hey, who knows? You could get 250 next year, and it might even give you a bigger headache.
A headache we would love to have, Miles.
Gary Vogel there, who's the president of the Hawea Bowling Club down there, 15k outside of Wanaka. Right, next up, we're going to talk to another fascinating character, Tony Fabling, next up on the Bowls Hour.
Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And Miles, we've had Anne and Gary, and now we're speaking to Tony Fabling from Hamilton. How are you feeling today, Tony?
Oh, I'm super, thanks. Yeah, all good.
Always a good start. To Joe Bloggs, who might not know you that well in a bowls sense, can you just give us like an idea of how you got into bowls? What started you off?
Oh, look, my uncle played bowls at a reasonably high level, George. And so I'd always sort of had an interest in it while I was young enough to be doing other things. Once the back caved in and I couldn't play squash anymore, I needed something to feed the competitive juices, and bowls was the obvious fit. So that's probably how I started. I started in 2005, I think was my first year of actual bowls, but obviously I played a bit of very social twilight bowls previously for the 3 or 4 years before I actually kicked off as a registered bowler.
So you were a squash player or a sportsman of squash first. How did that career go? Can you talk us through that?
A bit like my bowls one, I was way too social. Oh, look, I started off, Mum and Dad played squash. Dad was the president of the squash club when I was a kid, but I played rugby and cricket through school, and squash was something that you did on Friday nights sort of thing. And when, funnily enough, and I'm going to give away my age a bit here, my last year of school was the Springbok tour, and our school pulled out of rugby. And so I got a bit more serious about my squash then. So I didn't play a lot of junior squash, but once I left school, I ended up kicking the rugby into touch and stuck with squash. Look, I ended up being a reasonable sort of A-grader, but there's plenty better.
That sounds like a good start.
And that sums up a bowl too, but I think.
I think some would argue. So you've been playing bowls since 2005 and had some pretty reasonable success. Can you just talk us through some of the highlights in your bowls career thus far?
Look, when I haven't played much the last 4 or 5 years, to be fair. But when I started, probably the first hint of success, the New Zealand Open that Auckland Bowls used to run in 2008. So I think I was in my 3rd year of bowls, and a guy, Brian Cathro, asked me to, who was the head honcho basically of bowls at our club. He was the best player by a yard. He asked me to play in the New Zealand Open. I was quite shocked that probably I was bloody the 6th person he had asked or something, but you never know. Anyway, and we got through some good. It was a pretty competitive field. We played some New Zealand guys. We got through to the final and got dusted by a couple of Aussies. Aussies used to send some players over to play in that. Got well beaten in the final, but that was the first hint that I might be okay at the game. And Brian, he said to me one day, we were driving up, you respect everyone you play, but you can beat everyone on your day. And it's always stuck with me that that's very true of the game that we play, whereas you play tennis or something like that, or even squash, a guy's better, he's going to beat you. And that's basically it, But bowls, weird things can happen. You can find every hole that there is between bowls instead of sitting a bowl. And that, you do get some weird results at bowls.
Yeah, and talking of weird results, people still go on about it, and they're talking. I think, who is this Tony Fabling thing? And I've spent a fair bit of time with Shannon McElroy, and I've seen him play, and the guys. I mean, I think he's the longest reigning world champion.
Yeah,
because
that's great.
COVID has kept him going. But you had a quite titanic semi-final against him in the Nationals. Can you tell us a bit about that, Tony?
Shannon, I played Shannon once previously, and he dusted me 21-2 or something at an intercentre somewhere. And look, I'd been playing pretty well. People say, you just got lucky against Shannon. They forget you'd have to win about 8-9 games in a row to get there. That game, I'll never forget. I was just so disappointed with how I was going, because I've been playing pretty well, and I was a metre over and a metre under, and of course Shannon just plonks 3 inside that every time, you know. I just wanted to start getting some close, you know. It was really, I was more annoyed about how I was playing than anything. I don't know, I must have won an end and I shortened the length a bit, and suddenly I got a length that just seemed to suit, and boom, 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 started adding them up. But, you know.
Can you remember how far behind you were?
Yeah, I know exactly, because you put a video up when we were in lockdown at some stage, and I started getting these texts through from very, your mates keep your feet on the ground, obviously. And so I started getting these texts, and I had a look at it, and I watched it again. And Grant Hassel, you don't often catch him out. He'd reported as me being down 15-1, I think. And it was only 13-1 and 15-3. So, yeah, it was a long way down.
Yeah, we can tell Grant he got it wrong.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
For once.
He doesn't get much wrong.
Yeah, that was it's just an incredible semi-final. I think that's what I love about bowls. And it's what I particularly enjoy about the singles game and outdoor, when you have to play to that 21 points.
You can run out of ends. You can run out of ends in the other disciplines, can't you? But you can't run out of ends in the singles, which is probably the only reason I could catch up, you know.
And keeping your feet on the ground, what happened in the final?
Oh, I got dust. I couldn't find the centre line, mate. I was terrible.
Right, I've got a question. If you could pick a dream fours team from players that you've played with or against during your career, who would your dream fours team be?
I've played numerous New Zealand guys. Rowan Brassey, Peter Balotelli, Forsyth, Shannon. Probably, you know, that's going to be a pretty good 4.
Yeah.
But there's numerous other New Zealand guys, and they've played for New Zealand because they're really good, haven't they? So
there's no room for compassion when you're a selector, Tony. So
yeah,
all those other great bowlers, they're dropped. Now ring them up and tell them.
I selected the interclub team once at Hillcrest and got in trouble, so I'm never in danger of going any further with my selecting career.
Thank you very much. Tony Fabling there, who, just, squash player, turned into a bowler, and great success. And like he said, this game that so many of us love, it's I think it's a unique game.
Yep.
Anyone can play the game.
Yep.
And on their day, anyone can beat anyone, as Tony proved, even coming from 15-3 down.
Yeah, it's never.
I'd love to hear your comments. Oh, it's all over now. I mean, what sort of pundit are you? Oh no, it's just a matter of when and who's he going to play in the final.
Yeah, I wasn't picking Tony to win that game at any stage, including the last game.
You've asked everyone the question. I'm going to ask you the question now, and this could get you in more trouble than Tony, because you work at Bowls New Zealand and you play a lot of tournaments, and people will be listening and they'll think, well, how come I didn't get into your 4?
Yeah.
So who are your 4? And none of this, he was close, he was close. I just want the 4 so everyone else can get upset.
So my 4, the best 4 I think I could put together.
Yeah.
I would have Joe Edwards skipping.
Yep.
I'd have Mike Galloway at 3 for Joe. Because he's very accurate, and if she needed the head broken up, he could do that as well. I'd have Jamie Hill at 2, because he's Jamie Hill.
Yeah.
And I'd have Tony Grantham at lead, because I watched Tony play an in-centre at Browns Bay a few years ago, and it's the best I've ever seen anyone play bowls. So, assuming all 4 of those are on form, I think that would be just about an unbeatable force team.
No, that's it. I was thinking about it because, not having played much bowls at all, but I've watched a hell of a lot in recent years, and I thought I'll just bung my lot in there. I've got to have Gary Lawson, because I'll never hear the end of it if I don't put him in there. I'd definitely take Shannon McElroy in there as well. I'm going to take Joe Edwards, because she's a Scouser and she needs every little bit of help, and she's retired, so I'm going to bring her back into
that's kind of you, Miles.
International play. And I tell you what, because I've got an eye to the future and I like the hunger, I'm going to put your mate Aidan Takarua in there as well. So that's my 4. Yeah. I was going to get you in there, but I thought, no, if I pick Aidan, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, it would be, to be fair.
Yeah, I'll take him. Right, well, thank you very much for joining us in this episode of the Bowls Hour. This is the show for all things bowls. So don't forget, share this podcast far and wide. You can find us here every week on SENZ, or SENZ if you prefer, from 8 p.m. On a Wednesday night. as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, Facebook, and, of course, the Bowls New Zealand website. We're everywhere. If you've got any comments you want to make or suggestions, info@bowlsnewzealand.co.nz. Tune in next week for more scintillating conversation. Blimey, we'll get sued for saying that. Until then, roll on.
They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them. A fantastic looking facility there in the deep south. I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight. From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or from bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the team's above you.